You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
I know it was not going to last long. We had a short run, but we did have fun. I mean, I teamed up with John Tenta.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
He was. We got along very good. We traveled together, learned a lot from him, and so yeah, it was great teaming up with him, and knowing Luna as well, Luna was great. And the Giant Silva, John Silva, he was kind of an odd guy. He was good, nice, but he was a bit odd. He kept to himself a bit, but he was a giant. He was a huge man. But, no, it's true. I mean, when I got released, they sent us down, right before I got released, they sent us down to Mexico to get some, me and Silva, to get more experience or to learn more new things, I guess. And the whole plan was to bring us up to repackage us and as a different gimmick, right? So, but that didn't happen, But yeah, I did my best with it for sure.
The interesting thing is when I was doing some background check on some of the things you've done in your career, and it just hit me. You were only in the WWF for 2 years. It seemed like you were there forever.
Really?
Yeah, it really did. To me, it just seemed like you're there at least 6 or 7 years, and I said, 2 years, really?
It is strange, isn't it? Yeah, it's just been 2 years. I mean, it's been. I thought I was going to be there for a little longer than that, but it wasn't my decision. It was out of my hands. And it was disappointing to leave for sure. It was I didn't want to leave, but I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
But I mean, for 2 years, it felt longer for me as well. I thought it felt longer for me too. I thought it felt like longer than 2 years for me. But it was a great 2 years though. It was a rush.
This is the Undisputed Wrestling Show. We're talking to Kurgan. I'm going to pass it over to Zane Paisley. He's got some cool things he wants to talk about before we let you go for the night, Robert.
Sure. Great.
Robert, once again, thank you so much for being on our show tonight. And before the show, we were talking briefly. You recently came to Indianapolis and were at the Horror Hound convention, and you met my buddy Rich Abbott, who is a great guy. When you go to those conventions, are you more known for your wrestling career as Kurgan, or do people more recognize you from your great roles in Sherlock Holmes, 300, and Stevie J's personal favorite, Pacific Rim?
Both, really both. It's a little bit of both. I mean, it depends where I go, but I am more recognized, so they got the older fans, WWF fans, they still recognize me. Luckily, not the small kids, though, the kids that were born after my bit in WWF, they don't, of course, remember me at all. But, mostly movies lately, especially, like you said, Holmes or Pacific Rim. But I do get sides. People still call me as Kurgan. They call me Kurgan on the street. Especially in Indianapolis. I've been, they remember me from the WWF days. Which is nice.
That's because they can't pronounce your last name, Robert. That's why.
That's probably why. Exactly. Or they but no, both really on the wrestling side, fans, and the film side, which is nice. It's very cool. It's very cool.
Well, and I know that you gained a lot of notoriety, and Letterman talked about you with Robert Downey Jr. When there was a little bit of an accident on the set of Sherlock Holmes.
You wanted me to continue, or?
No, I was just, have you, do you still hear about that other than silly podcasts, producers like us?
No, of course, all the time. Which is fine. I think they flew me, I remember Warner Brothers, flew me down to Montreal, right the week before the movie premiered, and, to do press. Just because of that incident. So the first question on every interview, I think like 20, I forget how many interviews I did, like a dozen interviews in one day. And the first question was that, what happened? Did you really knock him out and all that stuff? This was, at the end, it was good for everybody. It was good publicity, really.
Yeah.
But when it happened, I didn't feel like that at all. I mean, it was an accident. It was an accident. It happens in wrestling. It happens in stunts, in films as well. And I punched him, and he was supposed to block. I don't know. Forget what happened really. I was supposed to punch him directly towards his face, and was supposed to block it. And we happened so fast, and we never really had time to rehearse at all. Things keep changing all the time, fights and stuff on set. So he forgot to block, and I couldn't fake it. It didn't have time for me to stop, and I hit him right in the chin. And I knew I connected with him. I knew I heard him. Didn't know how much though. It was either it could have been. I was afraid he would have broke a tooth or a jaw or something. I knew I felt bad, and he fell down, but he was still awake. I didn't knock him out. So he was in between worlds, apparently. So between two worlds, I guess that's how he said it. And he was dragging himself, blood coming out of his mouth, and a lot of people thought it was part of the fight sequence until they realized when they saw blood coming out, it wasn't. And so at the end, it was fine. He bloodied his lips. He had to have 5 stitches. After we were done, we finished our fight sequence, took him to the hospital, and had 5 stitches. And then the next day, he's a classy guy. He's a classy guy. He gave me a nice bottle of champagne. Dropped it on my table in my trailer, and with a nice note he had handwritten saying everything is cool, it's all good, I finished this week, and so he knew it was an accident. I mean, I had a lot of bumps and bruises in wrestling. This is
right.
Fine. If it's accidental, it's fine. If it's on purpose, it's a different story.
Right.
But it happens. It happens. But he was a cool guy. Cool guy too. Cool dude. But
hey, Zane, at least we waited to the end of the show to ask him that question.
Well, that is true. That is true.
It's just the publicity. It just blew out of proportion where I knocked Iron Man out. You went on to Entertainment Weekly, all the media outlets, Entertainment Tonight, and all those shows. And it really became, exaggerated a bit. But at the end, like I said, it has some good publicity overall for the film, I suppose. Nobody really got hurt seriously, so that's a good thing.
And one more question for you from me, Robert, and we really appreciate your time. Stevie J, who runs our network, AngryMarks.com, he is a big Pacific Rim fan, and he wanted to know what it was like working with the director Guillermo del Toro.
Great. He's one of the nicest men I've ever worked with. One of the nicest directors. He's such a humble guy, very funny. He's like, someone said, and it's true, he's like Santa Claus on set. He really is, and it makes you feel comfortable too. And he's very knowledgeable. I mean, unbelievable. He creates the characters. He creates the world in all his films. To the finest details, and, so he has an image, how the film's going to look like before he films it, he's a perfectionist, and working with him was great. It was awesome. Working on those huge, amazing sets, and the costumes, the stuff that we're wearing. I had blonde hair. I never had blonde hair before. I had to dye my hair blonde. But it worked for the character. I wasn't sure if it was going to work with him having blonde, but it worked perfectly. That's how he has those characters in mind, And no, he was such a great guy to work with. He's such a gentle guy, And I'm very lucky that I was able to work him again on The Strain. He offered me a role of the master on The Strain, and so yeah, working with him again. It was a thrill the second time around, So I wish I could work more with him in the future. I hope.
Robert Maillet, on behalf of myself, Zane Paisley, and Will Huckabee, you are a very classy gentleman. We appreciate you sincerely giving us your time tonight. Very much respect to you. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. We enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me, and Happy New Year, guys.
You too. Take care.
You too now. Bye-bye.
Bye now. Kurgan the Interrogator.